My parents tried to give my inheritance to their favorite daughter, but my grandparents had a surprising twist. From as far back as I can remember, my sister Lily was the shining star of our family. She was the one who got the praise, the attention, and the love, while I, Daniel, was more of an afterthought. If Lily sneezed, Mom would rush over with tissues, tea, and sympathy. If I got sick, I was told to tough it out. It sounds petty, I know, but when you live through 28 years of being invisible, the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. When I was 8 and Lily was 5, she wanted to take ballet. My parents enrolled her in an expensive studio, bought her a dozen outfits, and proudly filmed every recital. I, meanwhile, begged to join a robotics club, one that cost only a fraction as much. But Dad said it was a waste of money. "You don't need toys to prove you're smart," he told me. "Just focus on school." Lily's room looked like a catalog page from a designer kids magazine. Mine looked like the before photo. By high school, the favoritism was no longer subtle. My parents would gush over every minor thing Lily did. Even when she came home with a B-. It was a good effort, sweetie. I brought home straight A's and was told not to get cocky. When I made the varsity soccer team, Dad didn't show up to a single game. When Lily sang 2 off-key songs at the spring talent show, the whole family brought flowers. I used to think that if I worked hard enough, I could earn their approval. But by college, I realized that no matter what I achieved, I'd never be their golden child. Still, I built a life for myself. I earned a degree in software engineering, landed a solid job at a tech firm, and eventually bought a modest house. My parents rarely acknowledged any of it. Lily, on the other hand, dropped out of community college, bounced between part-time jobs, and eventually moved back in with her parents to get back on her feet. That was 4 years ago. She's still there, jobless and posting endless selfies about being a free spirit. I stopped expecting fairness a long time ago, but what happened after my grandfather died reminded me just how deep their favoritism ran.
Grandpa Henry was the only person who ever treated me equally, maybe even better. He'd been a mechanic his whole life and built his own auto shop from scratch. He was a quiet man, practical and direct, but he always took an interest in what I was doing. He taught me how to fix things, how to invest money wisely, and most importantly, how to stand up for myself. When he passed away, it hit me harder than I expected. At the funeral, I tried to focus on honoring him, but my parents and Lily made the day all about themselves. Mom cried loudly for attention, and Lily wore sunglasses indoors and posted pictures with captions like, "Forever in our hearts, #family first." A few weeks later, the family gathered at Grandpa's lawyer's office for the reading of the will. Grandpa had a decent estate, around $2 million, mostly from selling his business and real estate investments. I wasn't expecting much, but when the lawyer announced that Grandpa had divided his wealth equally among his children and grandchildren, my heart stopped. My share came to about $400,000. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was being recognized, not rewarded for being better, but finally treated as worthy. Lily's eyes widened when she heard the number. My parents' smiles stiffened. Later that evening, Mom called me aside. "Danny," she began, in that soft, manipulative tone she used when she wanted something. "Don't you think it's unfair for you to get the same as Lily? She's struggling right now. You're doing fine." "I'm doing fine because I worked for it," I said quietly. Dad joined in, his voice cold. "Your sister needs help. You don't. Grandpa would have wanted you to look out for her."
I shook my head. Grandpa wrote the will himself. He knew what he wanted. Mom sighed dramatically. "You're being selfish. We raised you better than this." I laughed. "No, you raised me to believe I'd never be enough." That's when Dad's patience snapped. "If you don't give that money to your sister, you're not welcome in this family anymore." I thought it was an empty threat, until the next week when I learned that Dad, as one of the executors of the estate, had decided to adjust my inheritance. He told the lawyer that I'd agreed to transfer my share to Lily because it was what Grandpa really wanted. I was furious. I called him immediately, but he refused to answer. Mom texted me, "You're overreacting. Family comes first. Lily needs this."
I felt betrayed and powerless until I remembered something. My grandmother, Evelyn. Grandma and Grandpa had divorced when my dad was in college, but they'd stayed on good terms. Grandma was sharp, kind, and fiercely independent. I hadn't told her what happened yet, but when I did, she went silent for a moment, then said in the calm, steely voice, "Your father's about to regret underestimating me." Apparently, Grandpa had consulted her years ago while writing his will. He'd known that Dad and Mom favored Lily, and he specifically added a clause to prevent any tampering. If anyone tried to alter or redirect the inheritance, they'd automatically forfeit their own share. Grandma wasted no time contacting the estate lawyer and the co-executor, my Uncle Roger. When they reviewed the documents, it was clear Dad had overstepped. The lawyer froze all transactions pending investigation. When the truth came out, my father's credibility as executor was shredded. He was removed from the position entirely, and the court reinstated my inheritance in full. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but my parents didn't back down easily. They called me day and night, alternating between guilt trips and threats. "You've turned the family against us," Mom sobbed. "How could you do this to your own sister?" Lily texted once saying she didn't ask for this, but that Mom and Dad just want what's fair. She didn't defend me, but she didn't attack me either. Eventually, Grandma stepped in again. She hosted a family meeting with my uncles, aunts, and cousins. There, she laid everything bare, including years of favoritism and how my parents had tried to rewrite Grandpa's final wishes. It was uncomfortable, emotional, and necessary. For the first time, the rest of the family saw the truth. After that, everything changed. Dad stopped talking to me altogether. Mom sent a few angry emails about how money ruins people. Lily withdrew, embarrassed but quiet. And me? I finally started breathing freely. I used part of my inheritance to pay off my student loans and put a down payment on a small condo. Then I set up a modest investment account, something Grandpa had always encouraged. But the most meaningful thing I did was start therapy again. Because while the money solved some problems, it didn't heal the ache of being unwanted for so long. Therapy helped me unpack years of emotional neglect, the endless striving for validation that never came. My therapist once said something that stuck with me. "You've been running a marathon for approval. It's okay to stop running." Around that time, Lily reached out. She came over one afternoon, nervous and fidgeting. "I didn't know Dad tried to take everything," she admitted. "I thought you were just being dramatic." I shrugged. "It's not the first time they try to make me feel guilty for existing." She started crying. "You don't understand how much pressure they put on me. I always had to be perfect. When I failed, they panicked, like my mistakes were their mistakes." That conversation opened something between us. We began meeting every couple of weeks, slowly rebuilding a relationship outside of our parents' control. She even decided to enroll in a design course at the local community college, using her inheritance to pay for it herself. It was strange. For once, Lily wasn't the golden child. She was just my sister. Mom has softened over time. Maybe Grandma's lectures and Lily's independence forced her to look at things differently. She started therapy too and sent me a long letter apologizing for not seeing me all those years. I don't fully trust her yet, but it's a start. Dad, however, remains cold and bitter. He insists he did nothing wrong and that I turned the family into a courtroom. He refuses to attend family gatherings if I'm there. At this point, I've accepted that some people will never admit their mistakes. Grandma has become my closest ally. We talk weekly, and she loves reminding me that Grandpa would be proud. "You've got his backbone," she says. "He never let anyone tell him who he was supposed to be."
It's been almost a year since all of this began. My life looks very different now. I volunteer at a youth center on weekends, teaching financial literacy and coding to teens from tough backgrounds. I tell them the same thing Grandpa told me. Your circumstances don't define your worth. Your choices do. I've started saving to open my own small tech consulting firm, one that also funds scholarships for underprivileged students. That idea, turning pain into purpose, keeps me moving forward. Lily and I still meet for coffee once a month. She's learning to set boundaries with our parents, and we even joke about how we're finally on the same team. It's not perfect, but it's real. Sometimes, I still miss the version of family I used to dream about. One where love wasn't conditional. But then I remember what Grandma told me after everything settled. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who stands beside you when everyone else tries to cut you down. So Mo, I don't regret standing my ground. My parents tried to give my inheritance to their favorite daughter, but my grandparents had a surprising twist. In the end, it wasn't just money Grandpa left me. It was the strength to finally stop seeking love where it was never freely given. And for that, I'll always be grateful.